What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dark Pixel podcast, live from my basement, not from Mike's place, which is where we usually are, because Mike's place
No more.
doesn't exist.
We, as you may have noticed or heard, we each kind of have moved our workspace to our own places.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Case said, we're in Case's place right now.
Yeah.
And Mike is actually going to be moving up north a ways, and so he's not going to be in that apartment anymore. So you guys saw the last podcast out of that apartment, and who even knew?
We
It kind of was a little bit of a spur of the moment
Yeah,
thing.
things got weird. Mike was actually kind of going to move before that, but things got weird, and now he ended up moving just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Literally the day before he went to E3, he had to move
Yeah.
all of his stuff. Actually, a good thing that didn't happen during E3, because
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened. He'd have been gone, and it's like, oh shoot, he needs to leave. But we're
Yeah.
good.
And, well, speaking of E3, that's where Mike is right now.
That's right. That's why he's not here.
Nintendo invites us to E3 regularly.
They do.
We were able to go last year, all three of us.
Yeah.
This year, Kaysen and I had other stuff going on.
We have circumstances.
Kaysen's is pretty good.
Mine's all right. I'm going to become a dad in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, the baby can show up at any time.
point, yeah.
So it's just
It was
not
just-
a time for you to be out of town.
It was just barely too close to E3
yeah.
for me to leave.
So Mike is there representing Dark Pixel, and having a good time standing in all the lines.
Yeah, meeting all the people. Yeah, standing in all the lines.
We stood
Getting
in
all
a
the
lot of
VR
lines.
stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the meantime, something we noticed about E3 last time we were there was that when you're there on the show floor, you miss a ton of crap.
Yeah,
Like,
we
people are
didn't know.
tweeting and talking about stuff that we didn't even know about. So, like, for example, Nintendo had us do this, like, hands-on half an hour like impression with Breath of the Wild last
Yeah.
year, and they were like, "Don't tell anyone about the stuff you saw." And so we walked out of that thinking, "Okay, like we gotta be
We've
careful.
seen, yeah.
We can't." But little did we know that on the Treehouse stream, before we had even gone in, they had shown more than we even got to
I
play.
know, they'd shown that whole part.
So we were like, anyways, it was kind of funny. But yeah, you miss stuff sometimes when you're on the floor because there's just too much crap at E3. There's just a lot
too
of
much
stuff.
to do. And if you're at E3 and you're following like Reddit and Twitter and all the game blogs, and like you're missing E3, you're not there, and
Yeah.
announcements are being made every hour. So it's like you kind of gotta pick and choose. Like, are you gonna follow E3 on your computer and live stream, or are you gonna go there and miss all of that? But you get to play hands on,
It's true.
So last
It's a
time we all
sacrifice.
went. This time just Mike went. And it's funny because Mike probably has the most interesting perspective on E3 because he's there right now. It's unfortunate he's not here.
He's not here.
But next week, E3 is going on all week, people. It's all week.
Through Thursday or something.
Friday, Thursday, Friday? Yeah.
Something like that. I remember being surprised that we were surprised that it was the last day. Like
Yeah, and it kind of
but-
ended early, and there were noticeably less people.
a lot less people. Like that
And
first
it was
day
good because
going
we had to
in.
leave anyways. but-
Yeah. So E3 is a lot of fun. This is the 1st year it's been open to the public, so who knows how different
Yeah.
it is this year. I
I
saw
don't know,
one
maybe
video.
Some of you guys are there now.
Yeah, probably, right? Because I saw a video of people lined up going out the convention center
Really?
down the street
Oh, dude.
past the parking garages.
Okay,
It was
wow.
nuts. So for whoever was in those lines, because that was
Gotta
like
play
the
Mario
green,
Odyssey.
the green public ticket pass.
Yeah.
I don't know how long those guys had to wait, but it looked like because when we lined up, we were still in the building. At least it was like a really long line, but we
It's
were in
true.
the building.
Yeah, it was snaking, but yeah, it didn't leave the building.
So
That would have been that's insane.
that's a mess. I don't know how much people
Oh,
are
man.
paying for the privilege, but E3 is pretty cool because
It
there's
is
a lot
cool.
of spectacle to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
guys know what
all that
E3 is.
stuff.
What do we explain?
Do you know
E3
what
for?
E3 is? E3 is this convention where there's
Never
these
heard
games.
of it?
So,
Oh, dude. Okay,
Whoa,
fun
what?
fact about E3. And as long as we're saying obvious things about E3, this one I didn't know before today. E3 last year, there was like 50,000 people who attended,
Okay.
roughly.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Tokyo Game Show,
Mhm.
200-something thousand, like 270-something thousand.
Why is E3 the national, not national,
it's-
international permanent?
Because it was the
Thing.
first one that was set up as a trade show
Okay.
for the industry. So
What, like early 90s?
96.
96?
I think they had in Atlanta or 95, 96. I think it was.
Gosh,
somebody.
we were in the know when the first E3s were happening.
Yeah,
man,
we
'cause
were
I
we
remember
were
reading about
sentient.
that.
elementary school children.
Well, we had our, Game Informer or whatever. We had
Nintendo
our
Power,
Nintendo
dude.
Power. Yeah.
It's true. Like, from as long as I can remember E3 being a thing, it was like, we got to go there. How do you go there? And it used to be, it had to be press. Although, to be honest,
you could be a YouTube channel.
And
now you could be anyone.
Yeah, you can be anybody. So anyways, crazy, right? We'll see how many people attended this year. Maybe it's going to
It might be a little more, which is unfortunate because even when we split up, like we went to E3 and we split up for a good part of it, and we were not able to do anywhere near the amount of stuff we wanted to do. So Mike being there just by himself, I mean, I wish him all the best, but apparently there's even more people this year.
Yeah.
And we all three aren't going. So hopefully he gets to do, what he set out to do. I know he was at the Xbox One press event.
Oh, yeah.
Which was sweet. That's something we didn't get to do last year, was go to any of the press events.
No, we went too late for all of those.
We were too late.
We showed up we were driving into LA like the morning of the floor show.
Yeah.
So
we wanted to save on those hotel bills or whatever.
Yeah, slept on the floor in Vegas. And and that's how you
oh my
do
gosh,
it.
that was so uncomfortable.
That was very uncomfortable. This trip.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
So
this year's E3, I've been really impressed by
me
far.
Too. Me too.
There's been some big stuff like Xbox One X. We now know it's not the Scorpio.
It's not the Scorpio.
It's the Xbox One X, which, if I don't know anyone out there called that as the name that they were going to choose. The One X?
No.
It's already the X. So
everyone
how do you
on Twitter
that?
was making fun of it.
How do you abbreviate that? Because people were doing Xbox One as X-Bone.
X-Bone. Which looks so funny.
Is it X-Bone X?
X-Bone X.
And then it looks like a Call of Duty
it might be
gamer
XBX.
tag with the Xbox X.
Oh, you're totally right. That's
like the bookends?
Yeah, that's weird because it starts with an X. So for it to end with an X is just so... It seems like someone took their actual name and so they had to put X's on the end so that they could have their username.
Yeah, because someone took it already.
The X. Oh, someone already has the bow. The bone B1.
Bone. Yeah, I want to be bone.
XX B1.
So X-Bone. Oh, jeez. So
I don't know, man. But
so there's the one.
It was good though.
There's the one S and the one X. So you S line and the X line. If you look at it that way, I don't know. So
and that goes together. It makes sense.
Yeah. So we learned.
It's just weird.
It is weird. It sounds a little strange. So we've learned a little bit about Scorpio, and then Sony had their conference with PS4 stuff coming up, and they had some big exclusive announcements. And then Nintendo's. We're recording this Tuesday night, so we've seen Nintendo's stuff.
Yep.
Now all the big announcements are over,
They're
and now
all
it's just
up
the show
unless
floor.
something's going to happen on the show.
True.
Which sometimes in Treehouse,
Nintendo does keep. Like they announced Ever Oasis last year, I think on like the second day.
Oh yeah, we haven't. Oh yeah.
I remember because I was trying to go to get in line for some Persona 5 stuff.
Yeah, because it was right next to the.
It was right next to the treehouse, and they wouldn't let.
That was the busiest part of E3.
That was
right
nuts.
freaking there.
So they wouldn't let us line up, or they wouldn't let me line up because I think we were trying to split up. Yeah.
Into the
well, there was a
walkway,
dude at the end of the line, and he had like a sign on, and it was like, "You can't line up," basically, like on his shirt. Like his job was to stand in the line and keep more people from lining up.
What a job!
Which sucks. I hope he wasn't just a volunteer. I hope he was getting paid for that. But so then I kind of was like, okay, well, I watched Treehouse for a while, and then they announced Ever Oasis, and I think that was the second day we were there. I'm pretty sure because the first day, it was the second day.
That's when you got to see Miyamoto-san, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, guys, we're just gonna run down our thoughts.
We're gonna list out the games.
What we've seen at E3 so far.
Just a couple minutes per game, except for a couple of these deserve more time because they're freaking crazy. We did not see them coming. And some of the ones we did see coming just are freaking crazy for other reasons.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about some more than others. But we got a long list here. So
we got a list.
Should we just start at the top?
Let's just go the order we have written here. This is in no particular order, although it's kind of a lot of Nintendo heavy at the front end.
Because we watched Nintendo's press event and kind of wrote this down before going through the others. Anyways, Nintendo heavy at first, but I promise you we get into the other stuff later.
Yeah.
So the first thing,
Mario
Odyssey, freaking Odyssey. So we're learning more about this game, and it's shaping up, people. It's looking interesting and freaking unique. Like people always rip on Nintendo because it's just a Mario game. That means it's not a new IP. That means they're not doing anything new.
What? Yeah.
I have never seen a game do what. You throw the hat on the enemy, you become the enemy, and it's like the whole Kirby. Or like you mentioned, Banjo-Kazooie before.
was what I was thinking of.
But it's different though because it's you're literally becoming the enemy.
Well,
it's
not
like Agent
just
Smith
enemies.
in the Matrix.
It's true.
You're
That's
like
true.
legit, or yeah, you can do it to
You're right.
cars or people on the street.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like cars, like
I've never
poles,
seen that
like
mechanic.
extremely
Yeah.
benign, like just like a
That's
pole.
right,
You can become a pole in this game.
Why not?
Yeah, it's a lot of. I don't know. That came out of nowhere.
Mhm. And everything you become has a little mustache.
There's a little mustache on it, and the
That was
hat,
so funny.
and it's freaking awesome.
Oh,
Like
it looks cool. It looks
the
cool.
the funniest tweet that I've seen today was some
Mhm.
guy who was like, "Oh, Microsoft. Okay, so the Xbox Scorpio's got 8 cores, and we got 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then Nintendo comes in. You could throw the hat on the frog, and you become the frog." And everyone goes crazy. Oh my
And
god!
everyone's freaking out.
But
Oh my gosh,
really,
that's so funny. Nintendo's playing a different game than everyone else.
they are.
They're playing a whole
In a
different
lot of
game.
ways. That is
Yeah.
true. Admittedly, like you want to specialize, right?
Right.
You want to specialize in like your niche. So like, what are you going for? Because you try and please everyone, and you're not going to make anybody happy. Right? That old saying. So Nintendo's stuff does tend to be aimed at people who, you know. To be honest, I think Nintendo's stuff is very akin to Pixar in that technically, I believe, it does appeal to everybody. There are some people that feel that there may be too mature or whatever for the Nintendo's kid stuff or Pixar's kid
Right.
stuff, and you know, to each their own. Everyone
That's
has
fine.
their own tastes.
That's
but
fine.
I feel like Nintendo comes the closest to nailing games that appeal
Yeah.
to everybody.
That hit the 4 quadrants. And,
The four quadrant game, and you know that might partly
they're
be
the
because
Disney of video games. That's for
they
sure.
totally are. That might be partly because they have the nostalgia factor to play off of as an advantage. Like even people today who pretty much just want to play, let's say, their way into like Destiny, they probably still grew up playing some kind of Nintendo games. Like
Yeah.
odds are.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you know, in that sense, they can still appeal to those people through their childhood. Which-
That's weird.
yeah, so I feel like maybe they're cheating a little bit in that sense.
It
if
is,
they,
but-
if they started
but,
today, they wouldn't.
Like, there are other companies, like Sega can't, you know, I mean, they sort of have the
Oh,
nostalgia
right.
factor, but they're not killing it. You know, Atari,
Right.
Atari's not killing it. Namco,
Atari.
Bandai, and, you know, what
Capcom.
They're the ones, yeah, Capcom. Was it Namco that made Pac-Man?
Yeah,
Like, the most well-known video game character ever.
in the world, yeah.
And, like, they're good. They're a good game company. They're not Nintendo.
They're not
you know? So
leveraging. It's true.
even though it's like, okay, Nintendo has what could be considered an unfair advantage, it's like they made that. You know, it's not
it's because of their
Exactly.
efforts, not just it
Yeah.
fell in their lap.
because other companies were making games then that are still making games now and are nowhere near where Nintendo is as a company. And
yeah,
Nintendo has
that's right.
freaking mastered what they're doing.
You know who else I feel like does a pretty good job of that is Square Enix.
You know,
Like
yeah,
they don't let things just die and move on. Like
it's true.
they like this being the 30th anniversary. We're gonna get to Square Enix stuff
Yeah,
in a little
yeah.
bit, but you know,
That's right,
They
they
do
had that
remind people
whole-
of their old characters and their old stuff, like with Dissidia.
And they're finally doing what Nintendo's been doing for a while, which is remaking an old video game, you know, for the new. I mean, they've been doing it more or less every now and then, right? But Final Fantasy VII, you betcha, if Nintendo had made Final Fantasy VII, the Cloud would have been in 100 games by now. And Square
It
is
would've
like,
been a
no,
racer and in
they've
the
done
party
a
game
couple. Yeah, the Cloud Racing.
Yeah.
And there is some of that from Square, but for the most part, it's like, no, they're leaving it alone. And Nintendo would not have left that alone. And people are getting upset at Square for just letting these things sit.
Well,
But
okay.
at the same time, it's like Square's taking their time, you know? They're
Square Enix. This is like we're talking about Mario Odyssey, but Square Enix.
they had a press conference too.
In some ways, actually leaves things alone almost too much in some ways, right? But in other ways, like because they like, for example, the Final Fantasy franchise is defined by, which sounds so like wrong, but it's defined by never being the same thing, right? And so
That's kind of them
always
shooting
looking
themselves
forward.
in the foot a little bit.
there's
like,
it's a double-edged
financially.
sword.
Yeah.
It's like you're
It's
not
creative,
leveraging
but,
your assets maybe in a way that your shareholders would like more, but you are maximizing your potential to constantly be making something new and never stagnating. That's a lot to ask of a company, and I think that's
a good point.
that's worn down on Square Enix a little bit in more recent years.
Lately.
Reinventing the formula every time is a little rough.
Yeah.
With every entry at least. So that's why I'm
That's
not
true,
completely
that's true.
opposed to the like Final Fantasy X to or
13.
The sequels to
Lightning
13.
Returns,
I haven't played them because I didn't even play Final Fantasy 13.
Right.
But I feel like
them exist.
companies need to do that a little bit to make good on certain investments.
Yeah.
Make those risks worth taking. So that's a complete freaking tangent. Mario Odyssey, the hat power.
It's cool.
It's freaking.
And it's
I
unique. Like, show me a game where that is a thing that you can do.
Possess. It's almost it's funny because they showed him possess a person real quick.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anyone else's gameplay footage. I don't know if Mike tried to do this or not. I'll have to ask him. But that's like a zombie. That's kind of creepy when you think about it. There's this little cartoon. They can make a horror movie out of this. There's a little cartoon character dude who comes running along and he takes his hat off and you're talking to your boss on the phone like, all right, I'll have the papers.
Oh, dude, that's a good YouTube video right there.
Flips the hat on your head and you're like,
that's a solid
you're
viral
zombified.
video right there.
Yeah, it's true. Corridor Digital.
But
there you
Corridor.
go.
Yeah, I mean, we'd do it, but
we'd do it.
Anyways, we don't do that as much now. Freaking, like, that's totally Agent Smith from The Matrix, you know? Except the weird thing is, when you see things like that being done, typically, like you said, the whole zombie thing, it's the bad guy that's doing it. It's no, I don't want that.
Because that's just creepy.
It's freaking Mario,
Mario
doing that, and he's a good guy, and so it's just, the whole dynamic shifted.
Yeah, that's
Jeez.
pretty cool. There's definitely a lot of possibilities. Cool. So, okay, here's a weird thing Nintendo's pointed out with this. Nintendo's preferred, I don't know if they've said this in English yet, but in the Japanese Twitter account, that's a funny way to phrase
that. That's a great
sentence.
Yeah.
But the Japanese Mario Odyssey Twitter account tweeted out the various control schemes for the Switch for the game. And they were saying the preferred control scheme, Nintendo's preferred control scheme for this game, is the two Joy-Cons separately.
But not
in the grip, like arms.
Oh, like arms with the punch grip, or
not a punch grip?
Okay, just
you still hold it normally, but not in the grip, in the clicking grip with the handle.
That sounds like they may want you to move them separately.
There's some motion control. So like when you're in the bullet bill mode, apparently you can move the controller to accelerate quicker or whatever. But that's what they prefer. It works in all these different
motion
modes.
Control haters. Start typing.
That's the thing.
Those fingers.
That's the ultimate thing
mad.
with motion controls. As long as there's an option that's a legitimate control scheme. Otherwise, then
which we haven't talked about arms yet, have we?
No,
it's been multiple podcasts. We still haven't talked about.
How
arms.
have we not done that?
We played that Global Test Punch, right?
Yeah.
I played the punchy style for a little while.
Yeah.
I switched it to the grip. There is a very good grip option. The only problem is blocking is putting in the left.
That's
stick.
not so great.
I hated that.
Yeah.
I make it a button, right, or a trigger or something. But other than that, the grip controls without motion controls were awesome. They were really good.
Yeah, I got to try that a little bit. I did the motion control at first during one of the sessions, and then a later session I came in and I tried the grip. And what was weird is after having started with the motion controls, I wanted to be like, no, I need the punch. Like I could feel my brain wanting to do that. And
it does feel natural.
It almost felt lazy. You know, okay, perfect.
It's like you're cheating.
It feels like that. Perfect analogy is if you ever drive a car like manual transmission for quite a long time, and then you switch to a car that's automatic, you feel like I'm supposed to be doing something here.
So many times when I come to a stop at a stoplight, I will put my left foot up and try to find a clutch to put in, and sometimes I'll find the brake because the brake pedal's long, and I'll hit the brake like really hard as I'm stopping, and just like with my left foot. And I'm always like, oh shoot, it's always after I've been driving manual for a while. And then when I come back and it just like messes me up.
That's like race car driver style, right? Like one foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake.
Yeah, just like always.
That's what it feels like to me. It feels like with arms, I feel like I should have been doing something that I wasn't. I felt like but I was still able to be competitive.
That's the funny thing. I wasn't any more competitive in the grip than I was when I was motion controlling. I wasn't any better. I didn't win any more matches. In fact, I probably lost more. But I liked it better. It felt more comfortable. But it didn't give me some cheap advantage, you know?
Some people started getting pretty good during the
At
test
the end
punch.
of the test punch, I was getting jacked every day.
Yeah.
Like, that was so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know about that game, about, like, purchasing it, like, permanently. Because
credit to Nintendo. I think they killed it with the...
it's an awesome game.
Like, they executed really well.
So. Very well. but there were some really frustrating moments, and I might get it. I just won't play it as much as Splatoon.
That's if there wasn't Splatoon on the horizon, I'd be interested in it.
Exactly. If Splatoon was 2018,
yeah.
I'd get ARMS right now.
Yeah. But so yeah, motion controls in Mario Odyssey. But
yeah, who knows?
You know,
but except for the people playing know, right? People who are on the floor know. Mike knows.
Well,
we don't know.
It seems like it might be different depending on the thing you've possessed. As to what, because there's some flipping motions.
Okay.
There's just different stuff. So it is interesting. You have to have that work on a controller too. So you can't be like, you need these motion controls. But it sounds like their preferred experience is this almost the nunchuck style.
That's usually Nintendo's always like, we'd prefer. But you can do this if you want to.
And that was what they had the guy on the Treehouse stream playing it in that group as well. So
I missed that.
Anyways, Mario Odyssey coming out at the end of October. So
October,
pretty sick.
Earlier than people thought.
Yeah,
people were thinking more November.
Dude, the Switch is going to be in demand this holiday season.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's already in demand. That's the thing. It's going to be a problem.
It's
going to be a problem.
If you want to Switch, I'm sorry.
There are parents that are going to be tearing their hair out trying to track one of these things down for their kids, and it's going to be rough. So any other Mario Odyssey thoughts that you had there?
It looks freaking cool.
Yeah.
Other than that, no.
A lot of Donkey Kong connections. I mean, of course, they're showing a lot of new Donk City.
Showing Donkey Kong, but
so they've announced that like Pauline is the mayor of the city, and Pauline's, I believe, supposed to be the girl that Donkey Kong kidnaps in the original Donkey Kong.
Interesting.
So she's a character. Donkey
Question
Kong has to be in the game.
Is Donkey Kong good or bad? And a lot
right.
of people think, well, he's a good guy. It's been well established through the lore of the series, but this looks to be almost,
they've got the girders or whatever those are called, the
things,
the I-beams and stuff.
The I-beams, yeah,
that look like the Donkey Kong levels, and also dinosaurs in this game apparently. Like you can become a T-Rex in this game, so
you can be a T-Rex.
You can be a T-Rex.
It's just it's the kind of thing where you look at it and you're like, that's so crazy that it might actually work.
Yeah.
They say that in movies a lot, but this is a real life example of that. Like, holy crap!
Pretty flexible game engine though to have to incorporate all these different types of control schemes, and
you could be a car, you could be bipedal, or that is interesting.
I felt like this had to be based on the Breath of the Wild engine.
I think so.
Whatever they're calling that. But it seems to be a step beyond that, at least in the control sense.
Yeah, probably because Breath of the Wild needed to still run on the Wii U. Whereas Mario Odyssey, it's like the reins are off, like just developed for the Switch.
Yeah. Well, Mario Odyssey, stoked for it.
So moving on, Pokemon Switch. This wasn't really, I don't know, it was announced.
There were a few that were like this.
But yeah, went to some developer who's like,
he's the CEO of the Pokemon company,
right? Yeah, so, Pokemon company, and he's like, oh hey guys, we're making Pokemon. See ya. And they had like some dude who was like in front of Nintendo who talked for a little bit, and then they went to that dude to make the announcement, and then back to him, and he's like, see ya. And I don't know why we needed that sequitur.
That part. The way that was translated in English, by the way, Bill Trennan, I think, was doing all the English voiceover for the Japanese stuff. It sounded like, when they're talking about the Switch being successful, it sounded like, oh, I'm so glad you guys liked this. I'm so worried you guys wouldn't like this. I'm so glad you liked it. I thought it was going to be a failure.
When you see the guy, the Japanese dude, and his hair, just the way he looks, is just like, dude, he's been working 70-hour weeks for the past year or 2 or 3. And he's like, I'm so glad you like this system I made. Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh, boy. But,
okay. I got that feeling, too.
Pokemon on the Switch. People were flipping out when the Pokemon announcement was made last week that it was going to be a 3DS. The Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are going to be a 3DS game, right? 3DS only. People were really mad, but honestly, that's not out of character for the Pokemon company. Like, they tend to wait into the next console generation before there's a big enough install base, because these games, these are the biggest selling RPGs of the year any given year.
Yeah, Sun and Moon came out in November.
Yeah,
it sold like 17 million units.
Yeah, it's
bonkers. It's been like 8 months. Like if it was on the Switch, it would have sold 3 million, because that's how many Switches there are.
Exactly.
It's like you gotta wait a little bit, because these things are gonna freaking sell like mad.
Especially
that's pretty
the Switch. This is the first console home console mainline Pokemon game
ever.
That's going to be a bigger draw than what Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon benefited from Pokemon Go. I feel like a lot of people came back in because of that.
At least a couple million units.
And the Switch is going to honestly just be a step beyond that. This will, I feel like, has potential to be the highest selling Pokemon game, only really limited by the number of Switches that are out there, right? Like,
I know Nintendo's been trying to get, and it's funny to think because Nintendo owns, I think, a majority share of the Pokemon.
Like, they have their share, and then they own part of Game Freak.
Yeah, exactly. Altogether, it's like they have, I don't know, a big amount of that company, but they aren't like directing it. They aren't like telling it what to do. I'm sure they're like, hey, don't develop for the Vita, right? Obviously.
Right.
But hey, develop for the console. Pokemon Company can still come back and say no, right? And it's been happening for a while. But now, and that's because the Pokemon CEO is he's so attached to the handhelds, or the creator of Pokemon.
Well, the creator, yeah.
Sorry, not the CEO. But the creator. He loves, it's all about taking it on the go. And so Nintendo's finally got their ace in the hole.
They're like, deal with it.
You can take it on the go. Freaking will you make a game for this now? And they're doing it. So it's good.
My gosh. So that's all we know. They said it may be more than a year before it's out.
Yeah.
Which it will probably be out next holiday season.
Like a month or two ago, Game Freak just sent out like a big hiring 3D animators and stuff, and clearly they didn't need the best animators in the world making 3DS stuff.
Right.
Console games, a whole different story. Yeah. So, obviously I would say that the development for that game's only recently started.
Yeah.
So it might be a year or two.
Yep.
All right.
So, Pokemon. Okay. Possibly the biggest announcement from today.
Oh, yeah.
Metroid Prime 4.
Which, another one we didn't actually see anything, right?
Nothing. Just saw the title.
We saw the title. We saw the number 4 and got really stoked.
Doesn't mean we can't talk about it for an hour, though.
We probably could. Oh, man. So but it's Prime. It's one of the Prime series.
It's
right?
Prime.
So.
I don't know. This is apparently not being developed by Retro.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Who knows how much of the Prime formula they're going to be sticking?
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if it wasn't a first-person game all the way through. Just because there's people that like first-person shooters. Nintendo kind of just doesn't really have one right now.
It's true, yeah. It's true, they don't.
So
that's like the genre that Nintendo ignores, almost completely.
Yeah.
The first-person shooter.
So it's been what? Was the Metroid Prime 3 was 2008 or something?
That came out on the Wii, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they released the whole trilogy on the Wii, so that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the last Metroid game of any kind I played. I didn't play Other M.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't what a lot of people wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Mike liked it, and I wasn't opposed to playing it. I thought the way they used the Wii remote was really cool. I just only have time to play so many games, and so I didn't play that one. But what I'm really stoked about is the 2D Metroid they announced after that.
The one they actually showed footage
The one they showed gameplay for.
Yeah, that one looks really cool.
It's a remake of Metroid 2.
Yeah.
Which was the fan project that was going on.
What was that project called, by the way?
AM2R.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, AM2R.
Was what it went by.
We may have said things on this podcast when that happened. Maybe go back 30 episodes.
Yeah, whatever.
Talking about how, but Nintendo's not doing this. Why won't they let these people do it? If you're not going to do it, and they were.
Apparently
they were doing it. Yeah. And that's why it got taken down. Oh, geez. I mean, it probably would have been taken down anyways. Let's be honest.
It's true.
But also, let's give them credit. Like, for what we criticized them for, it turned out
was literally what they were.
That was legitimate. Like, that was legitimate. Yeah. This one time, Nintendo, we'll give you this one time. You do a lot of crap, but this one time, we give you a pass. Awesome and great job. Nintendo, does it feel like they've been listening to their fan base more lately?
I would like to think so. I think that if they were really listening to this fan base, there would have been a Smash announcement at E3. But that's a matter of logistics. Of is this going to be a port or is this a new Smash?
And just port it, guys. Just port it. No one is expecting something bigger than what Smash 4 was.
The roster was already so huge.
I know. What else are you going to add?
probably
Splatoon
Inklings or
characters,
something,
yeah.
but
That's
and
what I was
arms
thinking.
characters now. But
Oh shoot, that's actually totally true.
but
That might be happening.
yeah, dude, that the 2D Metroid. While I played the Metroid Prime games, I did not enjoy them as much as my favorite Metroid, which is Super Metroid.
The Super NES one, yeah.
I just love that, and
That
Nintendo
one's so
pioneered
good.
that genre.
Yeah.
In some ways, like Castlevania and Metroid.
What
kind
do
of
people call it? The
parallel.
Metroidvania.
Metroidvania.
Right? Yeah, they were kind of simultaneous.
I really dig that as a genre, and so like Prime is awesome. My favorite thing about Prime is kind of is the scanning that you'll do,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the mysterious kind of exploration elements, because I really dig
Yeah.
games that emphasize exploration. In fact, I recently started playing Etrian Odyssey 4, and like that game is purely about mapping and exploration, and I really
Sweet.
dig it. Like
Nice.
that's a lot of fun. So that was my favorite thing in the Prime games, but in the just the all-around gameplay of Super Metroid has always been my favorite, and so
yeah.
I'm really excited to jump in on this. They've added some things to it, some parrying mechanics.
Yeah, and you can now shoot instead of just the 8,
Oh, you've got more freedom.
You've got more freedom as to exactly where you want to shoot, which,
Uh-huh.
I mean, totally understandable, the limitations of the old generation systems. But probably the one thing that frustrated me the most of those games was
Going
being
at an
able
angle
to
and
shoot
you had to
45
jump
degrees
to get
or straight. Like, those
Yeah.
are your only two options. And, yeah, you got to jump and do
Yeah.
weird things to get it to shoot where you want. And now it appears that you can kind of just do that, which is awesome.
That's like in September or something. That's
Mm.
super soon.
Wow. I
So
almost
three-
wonder if they threw that together.
Oh, I
It
don't
looks
know.
pretty well fleshed out.
Some
but-
people are worried about the developer. The developer made a kind of a poorly received Castlevania game for 3DS.
Oh,
and stuff.
really?
But it's a remake, and so hopefully the core of the original game keeps things together.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that's really soon here. So the 3DS actually has a lot of crap coming out really soon here.
Which is crazy, yeah, because they're supporting that system. I mean, people were wondering when the Switch came out if the 3DS was just going to die. But there's how many 60-some million 3DSs out
Something
there?
like that. It's
Like,
a lot.
You don't just let that go.
No.
I mean, until the Switch, which the Switch I believe will reach 60 million at least in its lifetime. Until the Switch gets close to that, you don't want to drop that.
Yeah.
Especially since, we'll talk about this later, but Monster Hunter, the new Monster Hunter,
right.
is apparently not coming to the Switch.
Yeah.
And so you've got the 3DS version. Yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a little bit.
Okay, Metroid. So, other big announcement from Nintendo today was Rocket League on
Rocket
Switch.
League?
Which is a huge deal because a crap ton of people play Rocket League.
Not a ton to talk about, but it's awesome. I mean, that's one of the most streamed games on Twitch. It's one of the most popular PC games, right?
Yeah.
And it's there you go.
I
Same thing
was
with like Minecraft. And
Yeah,
A lot
Minecraft
of big
on
games
Switch as well. And by the
on
way, with
Switch.
Rocket League and Minecraft, there's cross-platform online play.
Yes.
So you're not
between
just
PC and Xbox.
Yeah, it would suck a little bit if it was like you can only play against other Switch players and there aren't that many of them.
Play against a
But
lot
no,
of
you can
Japanese
access
people.
right. But
which is
you
always
can
frustrating
access-
with Splatoon.
Yeah, that's
Because they're
true.
so good.
Xbox, PC, Switch, I believe, will share a pool for both of these games. Now, the reason why there's no PS4 in that is because, well, that was Sony's call. That was
Yep,
Sony's
Sony
own
does not
decision
want-
to not participate in that. And they released a statement
Yeah.
about it. Something about, the integrity of their blah, blah. It was a pretty BS response.
Yeah,
Because
they're
you know what the
trying to-
reason is.
The reason is we're trying to screw these people over.
well, yeah, it's like
It's a business decision.
Exactly.
They don't have to play nice, but
and Microsoft has
it's
incentive
not-
to want the crossplay.
totally.
And
That's why
Nintendo
Microsoft
kinda does
owns
too.
Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
And they're allowing it to be on. That would be like Nintendo allowing Mario to be on the PS4. Like Minecraft being on the Switch and the Wii U is a big deal, being a Microsoft-owned property. And Microsoft is like, we want this. We want everyone to be into this game.
Yeah.
Whereas, Sony is a whole different thing.
They're
And so
not
is
as-
Nintendo.
Yeah, so
But that is
if you
cool.
play either of those on PS4, you can only play against other PS4, which is
Yeah,
fine because there's
which is-
tons of them out there.
Yeah, luckily PS4 has sold 50 million units. That's
Yeah.
fine. Not a
So
problem.
Rocket League on Switch, Minecraft crossplay.
Yeah.
Okay, Skyrim on Switch. Bethesda was
Skyrim,
showing
dude.
this.
Yeah.
It's Amiibo compatible, which was I would have never thought. I would have never
Yeah.
thought. Only like certain Zelda amiibo. It's not like you're putting Princess Peach in there or something.
Right.
But
and I don't know which ones. Did they say which amiibo?
just
Is it just the Link one, or is it all
there's a
of them?
couple, but I can't remember all the ones
remember.
they mentioned. But
Hmm.
I believe pretty much all the Zelda ones out there right now should
Hmm.
work. I think is what's the situation is. So
That looks it looks weird. If you haven't seen, Dovahkiin walking around dressed like Link,
with the champion's tunic on.
yeah, you are in for maybe a laugh or a cry. Either one.
Also,
It's
motion
weird.
control
It's weird.
enabled.
Oh yeah.
I don't. I was confused. I watched that over and over. The guy
About the
kept
bow,
doing something
right?
weird with the bow. I'm not really sure. Because the combat in Skyrim's already kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the greatest.
That's a good point.
Motion
It's
controls. It's going to be iffy. It could either make it. I don't know. At its best, it would be about the same. I feel like, and at its worst, it would be the worst combat system
would be
in a
bad.
modern RPG even worse.
Yeah.
So-
But if the selling feature, and I think this is what's great, and you guys who hate motion controls, and I know there are a lot of you, should just be so happy that Nintendo made a portable / home console, because that meant that whatever game, every game that you play has to work in handheld portable mode.
You can't
They
just
all
remote
have
controls.
to, which means you can't rely on at least, maybe you can tilt the screen, but like this kind of motion control,
Yeah.
you don't
The Wii Music
have
stuff.
to do that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. That drummer guy going nuts.
Yeah. And so the fact that it's portable is just so cool. So yeah, with this Skyrim game, I mean, there will be ways to turn it off, I'm sure, because they have to enable you to play it on the go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I probably won't even. I'll probably try the motion controls, but
I don't know. I've played so much Skyrim already. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, and there's going to be Skyrim
That's
VR
true.
on PlayStation 4,
oh yeah.
which is Skyrim everywhere. Just put Skyrim in everything. Like, I'm surprised
So,
Skyrim's on our
Okay.
phones at this
When
point.
Skyrim was announced, 2011 or 12?
Yeah, it came out in 2011.
Okay, 2011. It came out. 6 years later at E3, Bethesda is still making announcements about Skyrim.
Yeah, and on top
You
of that,
guys.
they were recently interviewed and quoted as saying they haven't started development on Elder Scrolls 3,
Elder
or
Scrolls
Elder Scrolls 6,
6,
which we've
yeah.
talked about before.
Skyrim 2, you mean? Right?
Skyrim 2, which we talked about before as to the nuance of what the wording may or may not mean, because
All these
they
press
wouldn't tell
things,
people
you
if they
never
were
know.
because they want to surprise people.
Yeah.
They'll probably announce it and then have it come out later within the year they announce it. Not like there's just no point in doing the Square Enix thing of announcing something that you really have no idea when it's really going to come out.
Yeah.
You upset people.
You
that way.
just want to get everyone hyped. Problem is, the hype don't last forever.
Well,
eventually
hyping people 5 years before something comes out, or 6 or 7. Not that was their
Yeah.
plan from the beginning,
It's
but it
true.
doesn't make sense.
In their defense, they didn't know.
They didn't think that was going to happen.
They didn't know Nomura takes so freaking long to make one game. But.
So, or that their whole internal business culture just grinds large projects to a halt.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
There are many factors.
Okay, so Skyrim. Skyrim
Skyrim Switch. Enjoy
also, on the point of Skyrim VR, which we don't really know a ton about, but Microsoft has come out and said that the Xbox One X will not be like a VR machine.
Oh.
There are no VR ambitions for that thing. So the highest horsepower
that's kinda
console
smart of
out
them,
there,
to be honest.
highest horsepower home console, doesn't give a crap about VR, which is telling, I think.
It probably could do it.
Microsoft
They just
has
don't
their
care.
own VR, HoloLens, and then
HoloLens, yeah.
other stuff that they're working on.
Mhm.
But that seems to be more on the PC end of things.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be giving any attention to that.
See, that's where
Xbox.
Microsoft kind of gets to win the battle both ways with Sony. Where it's like, oh, if you want a console, then here you go. And if you want a powerful console, just buy a PC and you're probably going to install Windows.
And you have to buy Windows.
Exactly, because the Mac, not all games are compatible there. And so it's like, either way, you are spending hundreds of dollars on Microsoft products, whether you play... So their Pro console is just the PCs that they sell software for. And it's like, dang, Sony, I don't know. Sony has to try to compete with that somehow. And they're doing fine, but... It's
Sony's a huge company themselves. They own a ton of different
That's true,
divisions that do all sorts of crap. They have a bank. Sony has a freaking
in
bank.
Japan.
So
So does Mitsubishi, and
so does
it's the
everybody.
weirdest
has a bank
thing. I was in Japan, and I was like, holy crap! All these weird companies that I think just make cars or just make video game consoles and TVs. It's like, no, they're banks. They are massive financial institutions.
I think it all goes back to the Zaibatsu stuff for like the large, almost like family-ish corporations.
The Chaebol.
That sort of thing. I concur. Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Which I just realized Zaibatsu and Chaebol are probably Zai and Che, and then Batsu and Bol. Probably.
Oh, dang, dude.
They're probably the same kanji or hanja. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
We can bundle these two together to pick up the pace a little bit. Yoshi and Kirby.
Yes.
So they're just calling these Yoshi and Kirby.
They look sweet.
They do look fun.
I don't have much else to say. They look
really
cool.
fun. Yeah.
I love the aesthetic for both, and I haven't watching side-scrolling Kirby run around and do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
That took me back to '92 when we played Kirby Superstar, and that game was so freaking fun. We rented that from Blockbuster 5 times before we finally bought it.
The Megaton Punch and all that
the
stuff.
mini games and all that. I hope
the
they bring
Samurai
that back.
Draw that was
The 3, 2, 1.
That was a lot of fun.
Man.
It looks like you
That took me
can
back.
combine powers like in Kirby 64.
Mhm.
So that should add for a lot of crazy possibilities in the game. So you can have your sword, but it's a fire sword or a water sword or whatever
And
else.
then you can still shoot, fire or lightning.
Yeah. So
It looked to be up to 4 player. So
Oh yeah, totally. Which
that's cool too.
is-
The other Kirby was only 2 players. So.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if Yoshi had any multiplayer. There was another
Oh, I
Yoshi
couldn't
falling
tell.
around for a bit, but they didn't really.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if
say
he
a
was
whole
an
lot.
AI or not.
It appears to have completely taken almost item for item the aesthetic of the last Paper Mario game, right?
Yes.
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 They just took all the
Everything's made of
assets and
cardboard.
imported
Oh, totally.
straight up.
Yeah, which is cool, but at the same time, I don't know. It's weird. Now it's like Paper Yoshi, except Yoshi's made of wool. Everything else is made of paper.
That's true. The Woolly World stuff lends itself that same way.
But when Yoshi was throwing eggs at enemies in the foreground and going, it did remind me a lot of Yoshi's Island for the SNES.
Yeah.
And to that end, it looked pretty interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that Kirby game caught my eye a little bit more, I think.
So those are 2018 releases.
2018,
so we
yeah.
learned a little bit about stuff out. But coming back to this year, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They've shown some stuff about the game where it's you're in 3-man parties and you're on the backs of titans or in airships. It's almost like you're on a land that has no land. Everything is on something flying through the sky. There's a bunch of different titans apparently.
Looks a lot like Avatar, like James Cameron's Avatar.
With the flying and the
where
weird
you're flying
monster
and then there's that
dinosaur
big
things.
tree thing that you're
The
in the
world
background.
tree or whatever they're gonna call
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
very interesting.
interesting. The music though, at the beginning of that trailer.
Oh, how did it go again? How did it go? It was freaking.
Yeah.
It was Chrono Trigger, people. If you watch that trailer and didn't think of Chrono Trigger and get excited, and then I don't know if I would have been more excited it was Xenoblade if I didn't think it was Chrono Trigger at first.
Oh my gosh.
Oh jeez. But oh my gosh, that was almost straight up the opening for Chrono Trigger. But
yeah.
anyways,
Well, so now
Xenoblade 2 does look cool.
Yeah, and I've recorded I think most of the music for that game now, so now we can count on what we're hearing in the trailer as being stuff we're going to hear in the game, where what we heard before was not necessarily. So
sounds right.
What
did they just say 2017 still, right? They didn't give a date.
Fall? Did they say fall? I can't remember, but it is this year. So.
It is this year. Yeah.
Now apparently there's not a demo for it on the show floor at E3, so I don't know.
Speculate.
And in the Treehouse stream, they were saying
mean?
that they are still polishing the graphics, polishing gameplay. So they're be aware. And so who knows what that means, but hopefully it does just mean they're in that final polishing stage, and that would make sense.
That's fine. It is June, and if the game's coming out this year, they would know if it needed to be delayed by now or not. So
Yeah, not having a playable demo is kind of interesting.
yeah. My guess is that they're just Nintendo's like, here's Mario Odyssey, and that is the majority of their play floor.
Right.
And if you want to play other Nintendo games, maybe some are there, some aren't, but
I
they're
think
focusing on one thing, just like they did last year with Breath of the Wild.
I think that
It's
was
smart.
a success for them. I think it was like you're not confusing people about what they think the most important release of the year is. You know,
Yes,
it's like
that's
you
true.
play
If they
Nintendo
had Mario
game.
Odyssey and Breath of the Wild last year,
Jeez.
I just wonder. I don't know. I just wonder what it would have been like if one may
Which
have
line would be
detracted from
longer?
the other a little bit.
I would have gotten into the Breath of the Wild line first. Still.
Oh yeah, still.
'Cause- but yeah, it's probably smart of them to just funnel it down, and they know a lot of people want to play their games. They can only get so many people through. The line for Breath of the Wild last year was so crazy long.
Oh, it wrapped around the whole
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
So okay, Breath
I'm
of the
sure
Wild.
This one it does too.
They've talked about the DLC,
Yeah.
this first trial of whatever they're calling it, Shrine of
Oh,
I can't
crap.
remember if it was Trial of the Sword or
That
whatever
thing,
it's called.
yeah.
June 30th, so it's just in a couple weeks.
Couple
here.
weeks. It looks cool. It looks bigger. Like the other like trial things that you didn't have to pay extra for DLC wise in the other games.
Like yeah.
Those were roughly small, circular, kind of go level by level down.
It's a room and then the next room.
Yeah, and sometimes there was some special thing in the room or a ledge that you could drop off of or not. But for the most part, I don't know. It's an enclosed space.
They mostly were just trying to overwhelm you with like the number of enemies.
Yes, and it's like, holy
those
crap!
ones.
Well, how are you going to take care of this, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this Breath of the Wild, it's big. It's a big space that you're dealing with here, and there's room to hide and to go and play the game in a different way. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
That
looks
was
like
a
the
little more
environment.
intriguing than what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it's anything like Eventide Island, I consider that to be the best part of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like starting from scratch,
Yeah.
and the survivalist element of the game, I think, could do with some more emphasis, just for my tastes. And so I like them starting you out with nothing, just naked underwear Link, and then get your tree branch and then beat the crap out of dudes with a tree branch.
Yeah, and work your way up.
It's kind of weird.
That was really cool.
It makes you realize like how powerful you've gotten later in the game when you start a new file over something. Like I was helping somebody start a new file again recently, and it was like, oh my gosh, 3 hearts, dang, and this tree branch has 1 damage, and it's like you kind of forget the power curve and like how strong you are, and even then Lionels are still almost impossible.
Yeah, they're still really. You know what's funny about that though is that when I first played Zelda Breath of the Wild, I died a lot at the very beginning. I played the beginning of the game again, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I don't know, I just have a better feel now for when the moblins attack and for when I can just, attack over and over and I don't have to play as defensively or,
Yeah.
I kind of had a better feel for
Reading
that.
their animations and stuff.
Yeah. So it is like, you really do get like better
Yeah.
at this game, whereas in the other Zeldas, I don't know that.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Necessarily was the
I
case.
see what you're saying. They were a little less timing based. You could say for Skyward Sword that there was some skill in learning how to finagle the motion
The
controls
motion
because you had to learn
don't pull back before you
'cause then
swing
you do an upward
because he'll
swing.
swing up.
Yeah.
You got to slowly go
just
up and
some
then
quick
go down.
quick
Yeah.
movements in the direction you need. Yeah. So excited about that, and they didn't show. They showed something, but they didn't show
They
anything
didn't show
about
anything. It
the
was
the holiday DLC.
yeah.
So,
But it's coming. We still know nothing about that.
yeah. So
All right.
Um,
Shadow of
yeah.
the Colossus remake. Weird. I mean, it's cool. Like I was excited to see it. I was very stoked when it came up. But they remastered it
really
like
recently.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Or
not
3.
that long ago.
It was during Blue
Blue Point.
Blue Point. It was during Blue Point's development of Last Guardian, right? And it was after they had left Sony, Japan Studios One or whatever, and gone on to do their own thing, and were doing Last Guardian, and they made, the Shadow of the Colossus. I have a dark history on this whole thing, by the way. You should totally watch it.
Oh, that's right.
And then they made the remake or the remaster. And it's just so weird that a few years after an HD remaster of a game that I don't think needs any update, gameplay wise or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it is a solid
It
game.
stands up really well still.
Yeah, and they're remaking it. It's like, wait, you just needed to do some HD. You didn't have to remake it. It looks really cool, but I don't know. don't know.
Well, I'm trying to see if
How likely is this game going to match the original as far as like how good that game was?
that's well. I mean, theoretically, it should just be identical. I think, right?
But why remake it then? You should just do the remaster
because people want to see more fur or something. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
I think that there was some potential to bring in like Colossi that like didn't make it in the original game and add some more variety there, but
That's
it sounds
true.
like because it
more.
is Blue Point and they're essentially like a remaster studio.
They're a very
small group. They're not going to be doing anything that crazy. It's mostly a graphical update, although it's not coming out till next year. So
yeah, that's right.
There's plenty of time to be proven wrong on that point. But
there's another crazy thing about them. It's coming out next year. Is that they spent 10 years making The Last Guardian, right? Or like 8 or 9 years.
Off
they
and
spent
on,
a long time making that one game, and they were just killing themselves. Finally, barely getting it out in time for holiday 2016, right?
Yeah.
And they're already like this far along and like finishing up. Well, maybe not finishing, but they're already going to be making a remake, not even a remaster, a whole remake of this game of theirs from forever ago. And it's like, that's crazy.
Well,
I don't know. They had to have been developing this during The Last Guardian to some degree.
I mean, it depends on how crazy they're going with it, right? Because like if they're taking the skeleton that's already there, if they're not updating animations, if they're not... if it's mostly a graphical
just take their
refresh,
HD ones that they already did,
throw it in Unreal Engine,
and then just make them more HD, I guess. Yeah, Unreal 4.
Yeah, just bump everything up till you can't maintain the frame rate anymore, and just back it off a little.
And back it off a little, and then release it as a game for everyone to play. Yeah. You're right. Something like that would make it essentially a remake, not a remaster, because they'd be changing engines and.
I'm not.
Differently.
Yeah, I think Shadow of the Colossus is one of the best games ever made.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a sign of me getting old because I'm a little baffled sometimes when I see these, and I'm just like, I think it's accessible on PS4. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have sworn the HD remaster of Shadow of the Colossus is available on PS4.
Is this correct or not? Was that only PS3 or?
Could have sworn it was. I thought that was really recent.
Let us know. I mean, we'll look it up right after this.
If it's not, because if it's not available on the PS4 at this point, then I get this. It's like,
but then just port the HD remaster. Like that's.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's good enough. However, this remake has gotten a lot of press, so I guess that is.
Yeah.
They'll sell more as a remake than they would as a remaster. I guess. Right.
Yeah. Maybe.
There's no other.
Who knows? But I think it would be cool if they added at least one of the other Colossi to back into the game. I think that could add a lot of intrigue and just interest, at least for me, to even want to play it again.
Yeah. Have some more variety.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So Shadow of the Colossus remake.
So Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah.
This game just looks freaking weird.
Okay.
It looks cool, but
the leaks. I was like, this is the most insane thing ever, right?
Dude.
Well, they were not only were they dead on, but I feel like no gameplay was leaked, so no one really knew anything.
Right,
you
that's
just
true.
saw the concept art, or not even the concept art, the like the production, the advertising, and
the
stuff
title.
Like that. I'm actually kind of down with this game. Like the tactical aspect of it I really like tactical RPGs, and so while I would still prefer to not have the Rabbids in it,
that kills it a little.
They're just like the minions to me.
They are. They're freaking minions.
It's like a joke that's been run into the ground. I feel like I don't know. Like Minions, I'm so freaking done with Minions. Kids still love Minions.
Kids love Minions.
And you know what, dude? If we were kids, this would be the game we'd be asking for. Next to Mario Odyssey.
We'd have been laughing so hard at that trailer.
We would have.
Especially that girl getting kidnapped and she takes a selfie.
She's.
I'd have. I mean, I chuckled. Right? I laughed, but I'd have thought that was freaking hilarious as a kid.
Yeah. So
it does look interesting. I mean, it really does. The Rabbids just look so dumb. It's just pure silliness. But
the Rabbids, but if you took them out, it really would feel like a game that Nintendo made.
It would look pretty cool. Yeah.
Like Ubisoft's done a great job here of nailing the Nintendo.
I wonder how intensely Nintendo shepherded them in getting that look, or if they kind of let Ubisoft run on their own?
That's a good question.
Because I know with Mario RPG, Shigeru Miyamoto was at Square Enix or SquareSoft's office like every week, just like
really,
double checking everything they were doing. He was very involved.
This is a little farther away than that because you're
Yeah,
talking about. I believe it's done in France with Ubisoft's other stuff.
It was Reggie Fils-Aimé, dude. He was coming over knocking every week.
Oh man, but it's been in development for 3 years apparently, and when you look at the gameplay, I feel like you can tell that it was originally designed with the Wii U in mind because the way the characters move about, they're following this like hockey puck type thing with like rabbit ears.
Yeah.
And it's just sliding around on the ground.
Yeah.
And then when you move characters, you kind of almost slide them up to where they're going to go. So it does feel like something that would have been a Wii U gamepad type mechanic, but they stuck with it because it still works with the analog sticks.
That's interesting because Ubisoft was supporting the Wii U so heavily at the beginning, and that support kind of faded away. But this idea had probably been in the works for a while.
Yeah, because you go 3 years back, we're talking 2014-ish. In a lot of ways, the writing was on the wall already for the Wii U at that point. So I feel like this was a bit of a trade-off with Nintendo and Ubisoft. Like Ubisoft's like,
I think so.
Give us, let us use your IP.
And we'll continue to support your freaking consoles that you do whatever you want with and don't listen to anybody. Yeah, I think so. That makes sense that it was kind of a trade-off. It was kind of like because Ubisoft, after the Wii U, I'm sure Ubisoft was probably a little upset with Nintendo. Maybe at least considering not like supporting so heavily, a brand new console that this crazy company with wild ideas makes.
Yeah.
But they are doing it again with the Switch, which means that like either Nintendo sweetened the deal or they just still really believe in Nintendo. But I'm willing to bet the first one is more more likely. Nintendo gave some incentive and said, hey, if Ubisoft's like, no, we're leaving, and Nintendo's like, wait, we'll let you make a Mario game, and it like escapes Miyamoto's lips before he even knows what he said.
Like,
he covers his mouth and he's like, what did I say? What have I done? It's like when Bilbo's trying to take the ring from Frodo. It's just like, oh.
He's like, I feel so bad.
And he goes and shrinks into a corner, and Ubisoft is like, deal.
No takebacks.
Yeah, no takebacks.
Oh my god.
I could totally see how that went. But anyways, looks fun. Looks fun.
Yeah, it does look fun. I think it looks like a fun game.
Basically, all these Nintendo games look fun.
Oh, yeah.
And can I just say that in Nintendo's advertising, like, holy crap, night and day difference from Wii U to now, even from the Wii until now, like, they are not going for 9-year-old kids anymore. They are freaking all of these ads, all of the people you see playing these games.
People show up like
with
street drag racing and crap like that.
Dude, it's like these are, 20-somethings. These are older people. These are no longer being marketed. I mean, the look may still be pretty Nintendo-like, but none of these games strike me as like, oh my gosh, like, kill me now. This is so lame.
No Federation
None of
Force.
them, like Federation Force. Or, the other games. But, it looks fun.
Okay, so Mario Rabbids. Okay, Monster Hunter World. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a game I have a lot of opinions about.
Very interesting.
There's apparently more gameplay that's been shown somewhere, but we couldn't find it. We were trying to track it down.
Next week, next Monday, we'll have a full E3 recap, though. Right now, we're kind of halfway through, so it's kind of weird.
So, they released like an information sheet after that trailer, and they fleshed out some more things they didn't show in the trailer. One was the multiplayer aspect, because that's such a huge part of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So to date in Monster Hunter games, you would party up in a town or something, and then eat your food and organize all your stuff. Yeah. Choose a quest that everyone agreed on, that everyone would go. This appears to be more along the lines of the like Dark Souls games, where it's like you can almost summon a person to help you in the moment.
Yeah,
you don't have to arrange it.
Can someone invade you? Can someone come and kill you while you're hunting a monster?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
But that appears to be how the multiplayer is going to work. You're going to summon people in to where you are in the moment, but that. So I don't know. They're kind of overlapping that multiplayer and the single player aspect.
Yeah.
In that
Can
sense.
You still maybe bring them into a town and go, or
I don't know.
Do we know that you can't do that now, or is it just?
That's a good point. I'd be curious to see if they've shown that yet, because the town is such a big part of any given Monster Hunter game. Like right now I'm playing Monster Hunter Generations on the 3DS. I'm really digging it, But I spend about as much time out of like a hunt as I do in a hunt. Like organizing crap and figuring out what you want to make next, and then like they've special Monster Hunter Generations. They expanded the Palico stuff with the cats that are your helpers. You can train them up. You can send them on their own quests. You can even play as one of them.
That's
and
cool.
Go and hunt and find stuff.
That's cool.
They've expanded that a lot. That has always been the more like lighthearted, funny side of Monster Hunter, like the quirkiness.
Yeah.
Like they're obsessed with cats, and like a cat dressed up as like D'Artagnan, like telling you, like swooshing his saber in the air as he's like explaining something to you. That's the Monster Hunter vibe to date. That's what Monster Hunter currently is, at least. Is there's this levity to it, this jokiness. You're cooking the meat and it's dun 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 dun.
Which at the end of the trailer they did still show, like, hey guys, this is still a silly joke.
You showed them cooking the meat, but they didn't play the song. It was weird. Right, I wanted to hear the song because then you do a good job. It's so tasty. It's very ridiculous. But it's also a very technical series. Like each game iterates on the one before it, and which means like if you miss a game or two. There's a little bit of a learning curve to some of that. So I guess my point is that I feel like the current Monster Hunter series as we know it is definitely something that is designed with a Japanese audience in mind. And like that's what they dig out of the gameplay of Monster Hunter. The arcadey feel, the timer on a quest. And what Western audiences want out of that type of game is not that. It seems like they want the open world,
stealth, and
seamless, and the stealth, and then the more action-driven.
That's true.
Stuff.
The seamless areas, going from one area to another. Monster Hunter was always, there's loading times and all that. And in this game, it's like it seems to be all continuous. Yeah,
it always felt more of like an arcade game. The previous Monster Hunters up to this point, it's felt like like there's levels almost, not like character levels, but like there are worlds, but each world is broken up into numbered areas. And if you want to like for example, paintballs, I'm curious if that's going to still be in Monster Hunter at this point, because you could peg a guy with a paintball and still see where he went.
Which area he was in.
Yeah. Now there's like this tracking ability, it looks like, where you can
that's
find,
cool actually.
So like
I think that's really cool.
Where like before it was like, hey, the quest gal at the quest counter would be like, we got a report of this bad thing going on or whatever, and like you need to go take care of it. And it was like you're going after this thing, and you're like, your goal is to do this, and maybe you have a sub goal to do something else. And so you show up and you just have to find that one thing. This feels like maybe it won't be so quest oriented. That it's like you're in a world inhabited by various creatures that have of varying difficulties, and it seems like it's more like what can you find, what can you track down, and it's more of a hunt, I guess, than a Navy SEAL like special ops drop into a zone or something, which is what the game really is like right now.
Which is what it looks like, yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Like, it looks killer, like the graphics and everything.
It looks very good, yeah.
But
it looks very cool.
Theory, they're
still cooking.
The Monster Hunter subreddit was going ballistic after this video.
Were they upset?
Last night. There were a lot of people that were upset because first off,
no Switch.
First off, no Switch.
No Nintendo
for this game. But second off, it appears to be people always get concerned when they're into like a niche genre, and then the developer decides we need this to appeal to more people, and then they change things up to appeal to more people.
That's usually frustrating.
And there's a little bit of a hipstery thing, where it's like, no man, it was better, and then you ruined it so that you could get the casuals in here. There's definitely some of that going on right now. So however, I was going to say that there's still a very strong chance that first off, Monster Hunter Double Cross has not been announced for the West yet for Switch, by the way. I expect it to come out, but that's coming out in August in Japan. But that's a game that's already been out in Japan. Monster Hunter Double Cross is out for a very long time.
The Switch version of it, right?
It's a Switch version, yeah. So there are theories that Monster Hunter 5, like an actual Monster Hunter as we would more recognize it today, is still going to come out at some point for the Switch, but that this is their attempt to capture a wider Western audience by tweaking the gameplay. I don't know, because I have no idea.
We'll find out next C3.
Yeah.
We're already looking forward to next
Well,
year.
no, this one, Monster Hunter World, is going to be early 2018.
Oh,
so...
yeah. Well, I was talking about Monster Hunter 5.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That might be a little bit.
You know.
That might be a little while. But so, anyways, you can just ramble about that forever. But
my guess is, even though they didn't announce it, there will be a Switch version because the Switch is selling too well.
One specifically.
Yeah, it may come later. It may be
So, okay, we talked about this on our E3 Predictions podcast, but I mentioned how there was a rumor out there that Monster Hunter 5 might be a PlayStation 4 game. That rumor, in that rumor, they were saying that, like, essentially Sony had paid for this, for what's going on right here with Monster Hunter World. Now, I don't actually believe that part of it, because it's also coming out on Xbox One and it's coming out on PC.
Oh, yeah, Sony didn't pay for this game.
So if Sony paid any amount of money whatsoever for it to not be on Switch or whatever they wanted, it just doesn't make much. In Japan, they don't care about the Xbox One, but this game is not just oriented at Japan. Past ones have been. This one, no. This one is a world. This is the first time a Monster Hunter is going to have a worldwide simultaneous release. So it's not going to come out in Japan and then you're going to get it months and months later. It's everywhere at once.
Yeah, that tells you something right there about who they're catering to.
And if Sony was paying money, then they know this game was a worldwide effort. They still care about competing with Xbox One worldwide.
Yes.
So why would they pay money so it just wouldn't be on the Switch? It doesn't make sense to me. That part of the rumor I don't really believe. There's some people that are holding on to that though.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
And especially a company that works so well with Nintendo for this whole like, oh here, I'll give you money to release on every other system but that one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, no, there's a different reason for that.
As the theory goes, the only reason it had become a Nintendo exclusive is because Nintendo had done a similar thing and shelled out. So that
but that makes sense. Companies shell out to get something.
But
Sony
then it should
is
be
shelling
exclusive.
out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sony shelling out so that one company doesn't get something, but everyone else still gets it, including their main competitor, which is Xbox.
Yeah.
What?
Exactly. Doesn't make sense.
Like the Switch may be encroaching on the Vita, but
yeah, not main PS4 territory. That's
not
for sure.
Not quite.
By the way, talking about exclusives, can we talk about Microsoft exclusive after every single thing they showed?
So
exclusive, but they weren't.
And they were not impressive.
Well, no, they have some console exclusives, but a lot of them were like launch exclusive
or PC and
more
Xbox,
iffy. Yeah.
Right?
The exclusive,
which only Microsoft can say exclusive because it's like, okay, Windows, I get it, but
yeah, that cracked me up though.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, but also of their exclusives, it's just not that impressive. It really just isn't.
Yeah.
The next ones we have to talk about were the ones that were initially revealed at
Microsoft.
The Xbox.
Yeah.
And so we got Assassin's Creed Origins, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, it's Assassin's Creed in Egypt.
All right.
Any more to add?
Oh.
We know what these games are. You're surfing down the pyramids. You're like,
yeah, right, dude.
Which is not,
Can you surf on your shield like in Breath of the Wild?
Good question.
You have a shield.
You do?
He's got a shield like on his back. There's like some parrying and
it didn't look like there was many like tall buildings. I mean, you're in the oases and the pyramids are big, obviously, but the typical Assassin's Creed stuff
that's like 3 stories tall. And
stuff like that seemed to be missing a little bit here.
Okay, so they mentioned something interesting at Ubisoft's conference about this game. They were saying that they changed the climbing in Assassin's Creed, where in the past it was like there were obvious handholds, and now they're like, it is funny, they kept referring to it as a tech, but they're like, this tech, we have this new tech where he basically can find finger holds on any surface. And I immediately thought of Breath of the Wild.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, this game's been in development way longer than they even knew what was going on with Breath of the Wild. But it made me think of a lot of people complaining about Breath of the Wild's climbing and being like, oh, he's like Spider-Man. He can climb on anything. Yeah. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, it's true.
Sometimes it's
true. But
when you're on a clearly flat surface and he's climbing, okay.
Yeah. Some of that Temple of Time stuff at the beginning, and it's like, this shouldn't work.
Right. But when you get on the mountains, it makes sense. It's not as weird.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But when you're emphasizing the gameplay of what the climbing allows you to do, it's worth the trade-off, in my opinion. And so you lose a little realism, but the ability to literally go anywhere instead of just following obvious paths, creating your own path is more interesting to me. And so I think what Ubisoft's doing here with this game, with this new Assassin's Creed, is that same philosophy that Nintendo used for Breath of the Wild, and I think it works.
I think so.
I think it's a great idea. So, yeah, I mean,
That's
I'm not an Assassin's Creed head.
We'll hear what Mike has to say
Mike
about
likes those
that.
games, so
Is it playable or no?
I think they've had demos out.
Yeah, we'll hear from Mike about that whole end. But it looks interesting. Another one shown at Xbox event was the Pirates. Their Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, that's right.
Oh, I have it twice here. That's funny. Anyways, Sea of Thieves. It looks like a joke game. Like, it looks cool.
Well, the narrator was joking the whole time, right?
Yeah, it was it reminded me a little bit of the what was it called? Mighty Number 9 trailer.
Oh,
you guys remember that?
like a anime fan on prom night.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't like offensive. It wasn't that bad. But it was just like. And the guy had a cool accent, and he was being a pirate, and he was saying funny things. But it just showed you what this game is. Like, this is a joke game where you're jumping around with your friends, and you're just screwing around, and you try to do something, and maybe your friends do what you want them to do or not, and you're just there, and that's it, right? It's not.
Well, you're It's like a squad-based treasure hunt.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then people can maneuver the ships and get to an island, and
and then one person carries the treasure while everyone else covers for them and shoots.
Feels a little like another take on Destiny or something, maybe. Where it's like trying to get
There's
better
things
stuff
everywhere, and
you're going for the loot. You're just doing these missions.
It looks cool in some ways. However, Skull and Bones looks cooler.
Ubisoft's take
and
on that.
It's funny because sometimes I'm drawn more to the cartoony aesthetic, and I appreciate it a lot. Not necessarily in this case. Skull and Bones seems to be a more fleshed out game, a better game than Sea of Thieves.
Because it's been part of a couple games already. It's been part
Assassin's Creed 4, right?
4 and 3.
Yeah. That's right, the ships, and I remember there's the whale hunting thing people got upset about in the fourth one.
Really?
Yeah, because you're hunting whales.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But yeah, that's right. So it's the same physics, and it's the same probably engine and all the stuff they've already developed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. But when it came to the Microsoft exclusive versus the other game that was very similar, I'm afraid Microsoft's exclusive kind of isn't as impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I see a lot of potential with Sea of Thieves, but in what I saw, it's not enough to get me to want to buy that game.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy it. I wanted to buy it when I first saw it, when I first heard of it. There's that trailer of the pirate walking out onto the beach, and there's the boat, and I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
And then now,
but that was last E3. That was last E3.
Yeah. Was that?
Remember you?
I thought it was longer ago than that.
Oh, it might have been longer ago than that, but it was at last E3.
It was at last E3. But now, after actually seeing how the game is going to be played, and how MMOs just have, I don't know why, but everyone just kind of screws around in MMOs. That's
more
what they're
jokey.
For.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
may be trying to do a cool thing and make it serious, but you're friends with these names above them that are always
be
hilarious,
jumping up and down and
just jumping up. And it just, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in this game anymore. I'm not. I am sorry. So there's that.
So yeah, Skull and Bones looks pretty cool.
Skull and Bones looks cool. Although it doesn't appear as though you're going to be able to combat like hand to hand.
Yeah, you just control like a whole ship at a time.
It's mostly the ship. So I guess there's some trade-off.
That could go good or bad. Like it could go like the way of what's that like medieval fighting game that just came out this year? I'm trying to think of
For Honor.
For Honor.
For Honor.
For Honor had a lot of promise to it, but I feel like it just didn't have much variety in the end to like keep people around. And this could lack that variety, Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
So it's tough to make.
Because it seems like you'll be doing the same. I mean, boat fighting tactics. There's not a ton of variety there. I mean, you're trying to circle the opponent and you're trying to get your cannons in the
And I feel like it can be a little tedious.
Yeah.
It could be too tedious a little too easily. I mean, it's tricky to get right, I think. So
that's going to be tough.
We'll see about that. But
so we've got Horizon Zero Dawn Frozen Wilds, which is an expansion, right? The DLC, it's like an extra thing.
It's not.
It's not like
I don't know what it's going
right?
to sell for. I don't know how long the campaign is. I don't know if it's going to be like a $40 thing or what. But it's this year, so it can't be like too huge, right?
I don't think so. I mean, the game came out this year. For them to have another
what, like an 8 to 10 hour campaign, maybe, or maybe longer.
Yeah. So I don't know much about it, but you got to go to this mountain, and there's a thing that's guarding it that probably looks lizard-like in form.
Gotta fight the thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks cool because Horizon Zero Dawn is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really know a ton about it at this point.
No, not a lot. It's coming out this year, so I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be like a new, real big mainstay franchise for Sony.
Yeah, which is good.
Moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a good.
really cool.
It suits them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good Sony game.
Oh.
Speaking of their Crash Bandicoot, like their big.
Oh, the remastered.
I mean, we already knew they were coming, but they're, they exist. So that's cool. Sony's doing that. We were talking before about how Nintendo takes advantage of their old properties. Sony hasn't for a long time, and so they're finally doing that.
That's true.
Awesome.
A lot of those mascot type things are coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those platformers. Hat in Time. There's that. There's the Fox one that Microsoft showed.
Yeah.
That was a VR game before, and now it's just going to be a non-VR platformer. So
it looks
that
weird.
Platforming genre might actually be.
But it's a
making
3D platformer, yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's
okay. Sony also showed their new Spider-Man game,
which looks freaking Spider-Man Arkham City.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Sometimes he was like using web in times where I feel like Spider-Man can make that jump without.
Yeah, that's
he
right.
Just jump up there. He doesn't need web all the time, but he used a ton of web in that sequence, dude. Like,
so much web.
How did he like so much that he's
And I didn't see him like reloading or anything. It's just like that's.
I don't know what version of Spider-Man this is. Is this the version where he has the web slinger? Is it mechanical, or is this the version where
it's organic? I don't know.
I prefer the mechanical one because the organic one makes no sense to me.
It's weird.
But
the Sam Raimi one, right?
Yeah, but pretty cool. I don't like all like the quick time sequences. There's a lot of those.
Yeah, the action press Y now, or
yeah,
the
like
triangle.
You were pointing out, like how it's like you don't even know what you're trying to do half the time with those.
Yeah, that was crazy. So Spider-Man at one point he's walking on this like beam thing that's falling down, and all of a sudden this X button appears with a circle around it, and as soon as the circle gets to nothing, you're supposed to push the button. But it's like you don't know, and then he does some crazy spin and moves on.
And then like some web here and there, and then
well, you didn't know he was going to do that. Yeah. Like typically in a game,
it's like press X to see the next.
Yeah,
thing.
press just because. Typically in a game like I don't know Heavy Rain or even like Kingdom Hearts 2.8 where they've got some action time elements, you know what is going to happen when you do it. You see it and you're like, oh, press triangle, or even when like in Final Fantasy 15, like the demo where that big thing that we played last E3.
Oh.
The thing swinging at you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, push X. Like, obviously, okay, I'm going to dodge this, right? Yeah. That's why I'm doing it. With the Spider-Man game, it was like, you had no idea what was going to happen when you pressed X. Like, what? And then all of a sudden he shoots webs a million different places, and he gets out of it miraculously. But it's like, well, I didn't know it was going to happen. I like to feel like I'm
press
doing
X for a surprise
in video games. Yeah, instead of press X for.
Or like the Tomb Raider thing, where it's like you're pulling a stake out of your side and you're pressing X a bunch of times.
You're like that, and it's still lame because it's still just an action time thing.
Lame.
But at least you know what you're doing. At least you're controlling the character to some degree. Like you know what they're doing, and you're trying to do it. And with this game, a lot of the time you don't know what you're trying to do. It's almost like
if this was a DVD or a Blu-ray or something, and if it would just pause and be like, hit play to see the next part. Okay. And it would keep playing. Okay, hit play to see the next part. I don't know.
It's like, just show me. If these things are going to be this, if I'm going to be this detached from what my character's doing, just make it a cutscene. Don't make me do things. Yeah. Just make it go, because I don't know what it's doing anyway.
Well, oftentimes, because like they don't want to kick people all the way back to the beginning if you fail. So sometimes you only go back just a little bit, and so it just becomes an annoying thing.
Yeah, if you miss the
times.
action time, that's true. It just goes back a little.
At its best, it's just like you might as well have been watching a cutscene. At its worst, it's like
this is
very annoying.
Stupid.
Anyways, other than that, though, I think that Spider-Man game looks really cool. I like the fluidity of his movement
because it's freaking Arkham.
Because it's Arkham.
And it's Arkham with webs, and where it's so. My favorite thing is when he'll jump like on an enemy and jump away from them, and then shoot his webs out, and then pull himself like back into the guy and like kick him into the ground.
Yeah,
that's like really cool. But that's like the brutal stuff that Arkham City was made of.
So okay. Just like Batman, he's trying not to actually kill anybody.
Yeah, I didn't see a single person die.
I'm curious, though, if you're playing the game, if you let someone die, if you're penalized on a mission or something like that. Like, that dude flying out of the helicopter and he slings him and then swings him back under. Yeah. I don't know. Can you actually knock somebody off of a building and have them fall down?
At one point, I thought he was going to knock a dude off the bridge, right? I don't know if you remember that part.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the guy's like falling out, and then he shoots web and brings him back. And
brings him back and slams him on the ground.
I don't think he's going to actually kill anyone, which is fine. It's not like I want Spider-Man to kill people, but it's
I wonder
unrealistic
as the player,
when all this stuff happens and no one dies,
And can you accidentally kill somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is
it like Crazy Taxi, where as hard as you try to run someone over, they always dive out of the way. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
You cannot juke them to where they don't get out of the way in time. It's so funny.
Oh.
Then they I don't know who showed this, but Ace Combat 7. Was this at like the Sony event? Was this?
I don't know if this is shown. I think this is Bandai Namco, just like a trailer they put up. I don't think this was a specific.
This is freaking good looking fighter.
It looks sick, dude.
Holy crap.
Jets with like lasers and all the awesome. I haven't played any of the recent Ace Combats, but I've heard they've kind of gotten away from what they used to be.
Well, they'd have to based on this. Because this is so future-like. This is so like, I don't know, 70, 80 years in the future.
And you got Luna in there.
She does look very similar. That was funny.
I've heard something about a VR component to this as well, and this is like the perfect application of VR, like in a jet cockpit.
That's true.
That's freaking sweet.
And you look around, you've got all the switches. Yeah.
They were showing some eye tracking tech,
cool.
on the helmets, in the characters in the game. So I don't know if there's a way to aim by like turning your head if you're doing the VR thing.
Oh wow!
And like track something if you have a reticle.
I think the military, at least the United States military, has something like that in place where
that'd be cool if they could get that working in VR, like the eye track. I think that's the next step in VR because they can optimize renders in areas that they know you're looking and like render a little less where you're.
That's really smart.
In your peripheral because you don't pay as much attention there.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's mostly the resolution of the human eye is mostly just in the little bit that it sees immediately. Yeah,
so
that's cool.
Theoretically, there could be an Ace Combat in the future where they do the eye tracking.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
It's funny when they're just talking about things like it's normal, like oh no, they just bombed the international elevator to space.
The space
what? That's a thing? Holy crap! This game is like not
space elevator.
Contemporary the way I thought it was. This is way in the future.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ni no Kuni 2.
Ni no Kuni 2.
A trailer for that?
Not a ton to say about that. It's a short trailer. It just, the animation style I freaking love. A video game that can pull that off is one I will want to play.
Yeah. For as gorgeous as like Breath of the Wild looks, going for that kind of animated aesthetic, like the Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah.
Totally nail that.
They nail it. And isn't Ghibli involved
I believe
with
that,
the games?
Yeah. So it's that Ghibli character design aesthetic and everything.
They freaking nail it.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
So.
We have one game left. Let's talk about
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga Remake.
Yeah. So it's the Game Boy Advanced
version,
and they're bringing it to the 3DS, right?
Uh-huh.
Lots of 3DS stuff. I mean, really surprising. I like
amount of 3DS games.
But this game looks super cool, and it's funny because I've played a little bit of the DS and 3DS ones, but I never played the Game Boy Advance ones, like ever, like at all.
Right.
I've never even seen them played. And, well, actually I have, because I downloaded it. I watched some people, like, online play the games a little bit, I guess. But this game looks sweet. I totally want to play it. it looks really cool, and I love the Mario RPG stuff so much.
Yeah, the humor.
It looks funny, dude.
The
It looks really funny.
fake Italian talking and stuff that they do.
I heard somebody recently say that was racist and they didn't like it.
Oh, really?
Oh man,
Huh.
don't ruin this.
Well, it's just gibberish.
Come on, guys.
I don't know how.
But I kind of get where they're coming from.
I mean,
I don't agree with it.
like, is the way the minions talk racist? I don't know.
That's
like,
true, because some of theirs is a fake Italian type thing too. Because they'll call Jello, they call it gelato, and a lot of the things they say are words in like European languages and stuff, like French a little bit. And, but
well, I don't know.
So not to taint this whole experience with
yeah.
the shadow of racism on Nintendo once again, but Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga Remake looks freaking awesome.
Yeah, it looks
really
like, and it's tied in with some Bowser's Minions type little little thing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like
Speaking of Minions.
the mini, it seemed like the mini Mario. What was that? There were a bunch of DS games. Mario Minis on the March or something weird like that. But it seemed like it reminded me of that for some reason. It felt a little tower defense ish.
Oh yeah.
But so that looks like a lot of fun. But dude, there's so much crap. There's so much.
There's just I don't know.
I'm trying to think there was
it's
anything.
hard to even put a podcast together and talk about because we have to go jump from thing to thing.
I know Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah. EA. That's right. We didn't talk about like any of EA's stuff.
None of EA stuff.
Like,
Battlefront 2
yeah.
is looking to have fixed most of the problems from the first one.
Actually, yeah, and they are not going to charge for DLC. They're going to have free DLC packs,
That's
which
smart.
is awesome. What they are going to have now are microtransactions, which is fine because I won't
Is that
buy
just for
any of
skins
those.
and stuff?
I don't know. I don't know that they listed the extent to which the microtransactions will go. But if they can make as much money on that as they were on the DLC, and I can play the whole game without having to freaking pay extra, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, it looks
think it's
freaking
cool.
sweet. I like
Yeah, that looks awesome.
that they have some kind of campaign in it with a bit of a
Yeah.
story that appears to, it's going to be canon. It's like a real Star Wars story.
Yeah.
So that's
They can
pretty
do
cool.
that now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then as the different like movies come out, they're going to be, updating it with new maps and.
They're
It's
going to
gonna be
put. Is it? Gosh, dang it! Is it Antonio Banderas that's going to be in this new Star Wars, or is that?
Is it?
Who am I thinking of? Oh my gosh! Somebody out there is like shouting at their screen right now, like, "No, it's this."
The other.
Anyways, I'm just curious who
Castilian-
of the new characters are going to be the big ones that people are going to want to play as, or if we know that it's just Rey and Finn,
Rey and Ren
and those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, dude, so far it's been a crazy E3. I think it's been a really good
It's
one.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because by comparison, the one we went to was awesome, dude. It was lit, right? Because of Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah.
But and because we were there, and so it was freaking awesome. But I kind of would rather have gone to this one. To be
Oh yeah.
This one just seems so.
Well, we
there
thought
seems
to
be some awesome
that
stuff here.
maybe the Switch or the NX was going to be at the last E3, and
right,
it
and it wasn't. So it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, that was a bit of a letdown. But
Oh, here's something, because I did not actually. I was able to catch up on things later, but I was not actually able to watch Square Enix full press conference.
Yes.
Did they talk about Project Octopath?
I haven't seen any more information on that.
I haven't either. I haven't seen anything.
Something we haven't brought up yet, though, is we got to talk about Square Enix stuff.
We have to.
Is Dissidia, the new Dissidia.
Oh yeah.
I'm not big on like the HUD, like the.
Oh my gosh, it's everywhere.
Like if you were to add that
creeping
all
into
up,
the
like
center, yeah.
I know it's like you just have this like cone of vision in the middle, and like, everything else is obstructing your view.
It's true.
I don't think it matters that much because it's the kind of game where like you're locked on, from what I understand. There's like 4 character classes or something. There's like Assassin, Vanguard, 2 others to help because there's so many characters it's supposed to help you know like these are the guys that play. I like playing as
certain types.
As Kefka, he's this type, so I'm gonna pick other characters like that. It looks pretty interesting. Square Enix also released a Final Fantasy 15 Universe.
Oh yeah.
Video, and
Which didn't have like.
no,
anything new in
it just King's Knight on phones, which I could have sworn that was already out. I could have sworn.
Is
that
that the one that we played?
Yeah, where you like smashing the blocks, like going vertically.
Yeah. we got that ahead of time, guys, and
did that not come out? Because we
Uninstalled it.
played that on our phones.
we played it.
But we
yeah.
played like an early build of it, and I have no
Yes.
idea if it ultimately got released or not. Or,
Yeah, I guess I did. I stopped
But,
following that.
Huh. They basically were just like, there's the anime and the movie and the game and then the DLC and the
King's
biggest,
Knight. Yeah.
the big news with the DLC is episode Prompto is coming out
Prompto, yeah.
towards the end of this month. So you're gonna get to see episode Prompto.
We'll find out who he shot in
Who did he
that
shoot?
trailer when he's like, which is actually a really good trailer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this whole Prompto DLC.
And then the VR fishing from Final Fantasy 15 VR monster fishing game.
Cool.
So, fishing's fun. It's kind of an interesting take that there's fish that appear that they could possibly attack you or something. It would be interesting if it was a tie-in, like you could fish in VR when you're playing Final Fantasy 15.
Okay, instead of
don't
its
know.
own separate thing.
Boy, they are stretching this kind of thin right now. Like they're still adding
Yeah.
content to 15, and I know there's people out there still enjoying it. But I kind of feel like there's going to be one heck of a Game of the Year edition when everything's said and done.
Final Fantasy
Of
15.
Final Fantasy,
gonna be
whenever it's all
massive.
in one thing you can buy.
Well, that stuff can't fit on a PS4
It'll be like
DVD.
a 5 disc.
Yeah, or they'll just have you have like a 50 gig like post,
Oh.
download after you put the disc in to actually.
That'd be
play
fun. Put the
game.
disc in to make sure that you bought it, and then you download everything.
There you
There's
go.
nothing
The
on
whole
disc.
thing, just like a little encryption code.
Oh man.
That's fine.
Yeah. So we no Final Fantasy VII remake. Anything.
Not a single thing. So
Nothing. Tetsuya Nomura apparently
it's not coming out this year. That
Guys.
is like the final nail in the
It's definitely
2017 coffin.
I mean,
Push
barring,
it back
barring something crazy being shown at Tokyo Game Show
in a month or two, right?
in a couple months,
Which is interesting because Nomura's going to show more Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff, like an actual trailer with new things
yeah.
at the Disney Expo.
Oh, in August.
Yeah. Oh no, July.
That's July. Okay.
Mhm. July 15th. I
At
think.
D23.
D23. And so it makes me wonder if they're going to wait to show Kingdom Hearts, that maybe Square Enix just kind of like gave up on E3 this year. They're like, like we'll be there, but we're going to actually make our big announcements somewhere else.
At least their core. Yeah.
Because Nomura didn't even show the orchestra, like the trailer from a couple days ago. He showed that on his orchestra tour a few days ago.
That's right.
He didn't.
It wasn't at E3.
They didn't show it. He wasn't at E3.
That is curious.
So it might be we'll still see some stuff.
So, speaking of Tetsuya Nomura, he is credited as designing one of the characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
He's on the screen, which is
Dude,
funny because we
yeah.
talked about this before. Final Fantasy 15 credits Tetsuya Nomura with the character design on the start screen at the bottom every time, and
that's his thing.
this
He
this
needs
one
people to know.
he's designed one character, and I believe it's the woman in red. I believe that is the character that he designed. Kind of interesting. Like, I wonder if they reached out to him to get some more street cred for this.
It's a collab. It's
a
you
collab.
make a character on us, and then we also get to have Final Fantasy VII Remake come out on Switch. So that's how Nintendo. They're like,
Nintendo gets both of those things.
they're like, we'll put your name on the bottom. We'll be like character design by Tetsuya Nomura. We'll put it there. That's what you like.
I thought that was kind of interesting, though.
Yeah,
But
very.
yeah, it's true. So I mean, we've got Tokyo Game Show. I would expect. I don't know. I feel like at this point, smart money is on Kingdom Hearts 3 being out before Final Fantasy VII Remake.
You
Right?
know,
Don't you think?
we've seen more playable stuff from that game
Yeah.
than Final Fantasy VII.
It's got to be farther along.
I mean, at this point, especially with what Nomura's talking about, they're like, hey, we haven't built certain worlds yet. We haven't touched them yet. But we may have to cut content to release it in time. It's like, okay. I don't know. I was hoping it would be the opposite, but it seems like Kingdom Hearts 3 will come out first.
Is he going to be showing a new world
Yes.
at D23?
Yep. New world.
Okay.
New world will be shown. Don't know which one. Hopefully
And it's
one
like
we
a
haven't
new
seen.
one we've never seen before?
That's what it's hard to speculate because we've seen the trailer. We know that like Tangled is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3. We know a couple, right? Like I think Big Hero 6 was confirmed to be in Kingdom Hearts 3, which is cool. Actually, a great fit, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even though those have already been confirmed, will him showing more of those worlds be counted as a new world? I don't know. It all depends on what he means.
Okay.
Or New World is in one we've never seen, or maybe he could be like, it's a new world and we see Aladdin, which was in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, or, you know.
Okay.
So, like, who knows what exactly he means when he says a new world. It could just be new for Kingdom Hearts 3, or it could be new in general.
So, if you guys are interested in that Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, you should check out Kaysen's, like, kind of trailer breakdown video
Watch
he did.
it. I did it.
You should check it out.
And I called Xemnas Xehanort.
Oh, no. You'll never hear the end of it. Oh, no, dude.
Please understand.
Is that what the dislikes are from? Because I was looking at
Probably.
the dislikes and I'm like, why are people disliking this?
Only like one or two people at the time. Maybe by now everyone's mentioned it. But only a couple people mentioned it. But yeah, anyways.
Too many X names.
Oh, there's a lot. And not only is it, oh, that's Xemnas, not Xehanort, is that even really Xemnas? Because then people are saying, oh, that's not Xemnas and Ansem. They're dead. This is this is like a reincarnation. This is these are new people who are just kind of, look like and act like but aren't. And I'm like, okay, that's possible.
I guess you can't say it's not possible.
I don't know. There's actually a bit that I could totally say about that, because you do see Ansem in Chain of Memories as well, and so it's like there's weird possibilities with
what are the
with
rules there that they have to follow, or
especially
not?
Since Xehanort can bring people from the past to the present. It's
so
like,
then all bets are off.
All bets are off. Yeah. Who knows? Who? No, actually, I'm sure someone knows. I don't know. I'm sorry. I need to do more research. But I'll find out, or maybe not. Maybe we'll find out in Kingdom Hearts 3 how exactly they fit in. But so, anyways, watch that stuff.
Check it out.
And hopefully there's more E3 content to come as far as announcements goes. I know there's more gameplay.
Sounds like I would expect Nintendo to have another 3DS.
More 3DS, yeah. They're going to do that till Friday.
Yeah.
But Mike's there. Mike will have a full report next podcast.
For those of you that are interested, Mike has been posting stuff to the Facebook page while he's there on
and
the show
his personal Twitter account, which is MCBREEST.
Yeah.
McBreest.
If you're not following him there, follow him there, and then follow Dark Pixel Gaming on Facebook, and if you want to see stuff as it happens.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Podcasts are going to be a little different from here on. We're going to be doing more almost like Skype type podcasts.
Yeah, more webcam stuff.
This is on webcam. So we're going to be working out the kinks over the next couple of weeks. So bear with us as we figure out the best format, what's going to work. But I honestly think it's going to be great as far as getting guests on board and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's going to work really well. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you haven't seen any of our YouTube stuff, if you're listening to this audio only, go check us out. Dark Pixel is where we put up our visual effects shorts, and Dark Pixel Gaming is where this podcast lives with our video game analysis / tell us why we're wrong about Kingdom Hearts videos.
Do it. More comments. Leave them right down there.
Yeah, guys, there were no user questions. User questions, that sounds so whack.
Yeah,
that sounds like I'm a Microsoft system admin or something. There were no questions from you guys.
From y'all.
This week. Not that there weren't any at all, but we didn't pick any up because
we didn't pick them.
Because there was so much E3 stuff to talk about. We're gonna hit those questions up next time.
Yeah. Still leave questions. Any questions you have down below. We will go back through multiple weeks when collecting questions for our next podcast or two.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, this podcast goes up every Wednesday morning. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, y'all missed.
See you later.